Welcome to Endgame Sensei, where I torment two hapless IMs struggling to become masters of their own game. Now, in today's episode, we have an endgame where many have come arrogantly, thinking they will easily conquer black, but have failed. We will see. We will see how these IMs do. All right, are you gentlemen ready?
Yeah, right, more or less.
They are ready. Will they stink up the dojo? We're going to see. Now, in this endgame, what we're going to do is we're going to run it back, i.e. I'm going to have one side play white, one side play black. They will start with 1 minute and to start, and they'll get 30 seconds to move. Why is it so quick? Because modern endgame play is, in fact, so quick. And this is an endgame you'd want to have a sense of what to do before you got here. Both for the black side and the white side. The black side, there are tricks. There are things to know about how to defend. We'll talk a little bit about it while they are playing.
And I just want to say that I'm very actually happy to practice this one because I haven't had much experience with it.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm here under my own volition and doing this willingly. So.
He's not always here on his own volition. He's not always here. And we did a Sensei a while back with Bishop and Rook versus Rook, and I've been remiss about creating a vid on it. I apologize. It's been a little busy. I will also do a vid on this one. And really, in both vids, a practical guide of how to approach it, not some algorithm, because the algorithm is going to fail you when you're, in hour 4 of the game or whatever it is. You need a sense of how to play it. All right, here we go, my friends. I'm sending the match challenge. Please be in what's called live chess over at chess.com. And let's see what we got.
It was high time that we learned this endgame. I can't believe I've gone through 3 decades as a chess player almost without ever learning this thing at all.
This one's important. All right, let's see if I get all my little technical specs here right. All right, ready, set, Freddy. Here they go, my friends. They are going to disengage their mics. It's white to move. And let me just say, many very strong super GMs have blown this position as white. And the first thing we should say is that Kostya should strive for what's often called the 5th rank defense, i.e. stay in the middle, don't let him push you back. And what Pruess will have to do, and that was already kind of misguided, let's say, with Rook d6. Not the end of the world, but a little misguided. Now, why? Because I'm worried that he's going to lose his...
To the miserable king!
He's going to lose his business. I might mute them if they're going to be yelling at me. But white will have to use Zugzwang to push black back. All right, so 5th rank defense. How long can he hold it? Oh, already, Kostya's losing his mind.
He's checking me too. He didn't know I was playing a secret mini game where I try and check him more often than he checks me.
Yeah, we got to mute him. We have to mute him. We're gonna have to mute him. All right. So, what is the problem? Is that Kostya might be losing the thread here. Of course, the way I set it up, black is allowed several inaccuracies before the white king approaches anyway. So I think he should still be able to set up the 5th rank defense, but it's getting a little creaky. A file off screen. Jesse Kraai every time. Hey, take it easy. Why did it happen? I know why it happened.
Hey, Jesse, I think chat's saying that there's something missing on the board.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
There we go. So, Mr. Kostya needs to understand that he needs to play a move like Rook d4 to try to hold the line in the middle of the board. He cannot, once he gets pushed back, it will be far easier. So, for example, Queen g6, king d5, king d3 is a good start here for white. It's already kind of rough, honestly. Even there, by the way, white will have to know my spiritual guidelines for how to play this position. And the way I'll put it is, I think that's fine too, maybe even better. The way I'll put it is the queen wants to not be right in front of the king's face once you get him in there. It's more like the king should be the jabber in the face and the queen is the roundhouse. And already you can see Kostya's lost the 5th rank here. Yeah. He's going to lose the 5th rank. Now, moves like this, David has to think a little bit about how to create the zugzwang moment. Queen b4 looks reasonable, for example. Yeah. We'd love to push the king back 1 file. And if Kostya got the chance, he would like to reassert himself on the 5th rank. See, if you imagine it here, this is like the 4th rank, if you will, right? Still can be a little bit problematic for white to push back. Okay, let's call that the most combative move there. Queen e5 looks reasonable. Other moves as well. Queen c2 looks reasonable. And we could also say it would be a good news for us if we could just have this position as black to move. It would be great if we could just make this black to move. And a lot of the key positions here are giving our opponent the move. We got a comment in chat saying in most games it's a draw by 50 move rule. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. I would say that white wins the vast majority. And one of the reasons for that is black has to really watch himself for all kinds of dirty tricks that white can do. So even if white doesn't understand exactly what's going on, it's really easy to lose the rook. Really easy to lose the rook. Interesting question. What are the most important practical endgames for around a 1250? I like queen e5, by the way. King and pawn versus queen, definitely. King and pawn versus king and queen, okay. I would say that king and pawn versus king is a good one, especially if you're teaching kids. That's a good one to start with. But what you should, a simple way to approach it is just to take an unusual joy in the endings. And the endgames will teach you, again, things about other parts of the game. So king and pawn versus king, sure. But learning about endgames will teach you visualization. For example, in this ending, we're going to see a variety of positions where even though we're just got 4 pieces on the board, we're going to get a full the board usage. The queen can fly all over the place, and a lot of times even the rook will make a backwards move that's very surprising. So one thing I'd like to say is, again, I want to just stress this. If black were 1 over, we would call that the 5th rank defense. We could imagine also the 5th rank defense being here with white's king being on this side of the business, right? Now, it's a little bit easier for white to push him back, and we're going to see black has a hard time finding a square for the rook, and if nothing else, queen c7 will push the king back 1 more file. There we go. Easy peasy schneezy. I haven't heard the name Brian Doyle since I left California, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, Kostya didn't know the 5th ranked defense. Should I tell him? Should I tell him? I felt like I did tell him. Maybe they weren't listening. Again, if you're just watching this, I will do a YouTube video. I'm going to call it something like a spiritual guide of Queen and King versus King and Rook. And the reason I call it that is in the heat of the moment, you're not going to want an algorithm because it's too intense to try to approach it as an algorithm. And a lot of books will put it that way, to like they're breaking it down as if it's, some math problem, which, yeah, in a certain sense, it's a math problem. But in the heat of the battle, you just want a couple guidelines about typical things you're looking for. That's at least the old man truth that I'm coming at you with today. People talk about the stalemate trap. I will admit it. I was a kid, a very formative memory for me. I don't know, I was maybe 1600 or something like that, and I was playing in 1900, and I was killing him, and I was so happy with life, and I got down to this ending, and what did I do? I stalemated the guy. A very typical stalemate. Why? Because I wasn't using my king as the jabber. I was using my queen as the jabber. And what I mean by that is, later on when we get him back against the ropes, we don't want the queen to be up against the king's face. It's the king that we want up against the king's face, the jabber, and then the queen comes around. That's going to be my pro tip for the spiritual guide of the queen and king versus king and rook. Is something wrong with the clocks? I hope not. As far as I can tell, they're moving. They do get 30 seconds extra every move. So, and this happens in real tournaments, of course, too, nowadays, that you're not going to lose on time, right? You might be pressed into your thinking, but you're not going to lose on time. And you will be able to make some dumb moves if you need to gain time. But of course, the real danger is the 50 move rule, and of course, stalemate. Right, I should have said that. David is white. We'll switch it up, and David is white this time, and Kostya is white the next. Let's write it out, buddy. I'll probably forget to change it, of course. I always do. Oh shit! Don't swear. Why didn't it work? It didn't work. I know why it didn't work. There we go. Okay, here we go. David's tanking pretty good on this. No, it's Kostya's tanking. Excuse me. And exactly, so this is the moment where things are starting to look grim. And the drama of Rook C2 is now, he's getting it pushed all the way back. Now, this setup with the Rook C2, it's one of the key stalemate tricks that black can try to arrange. Oh, I like that move a lot. That was good. See? See what we're talking about, you guys? We're talking about Zugzwang. Zugzwang every time. King E3, delicious move. Kostya didn't even make it to 20 moves. It's going to be over very quickly, my friends. This is the human way in which people fall apart. Let's say, guys, as friends of Kostya in his quest to become a GM, dude needs to step up his endgames. It's time for Kostya to step up his endgames, man. He's been stinking up the dojo. Stinking up the dojo, Kostya. This is brutal, man. This is just pure brutality. Now, in the chat, we have an important reference point that you can watch on YouTube, namely that Gelfand held this against Svidler with the 50-move rule. And you can find, if you just type that into YouTube, you'll find it right away. There's been other cases of strong GMs not making it. I think that one's most famous just because it's on YouTube. Now, I think King A1 might be the best move to try to trick white. You know? If you're going to try to trick him. But maybe you could try to trick him here, too. Here we're expecting Queen D2 followed by King B1, King D3. And the king's going to just try to jab him. Try to jab him in the face over there. Putsy, I'm sure you can win this, especially after you watch my amazing YouTube video. It's going to be easy. And notice, Queen D2, King B1, King D3. The problem for black is that his rook has to get divorced from the king, and then wherever he goes, it's going to get knocked out. King E2, fine, fine. Also fine. And now we're expecting something sad like Rook B1, Queen C4, walk the dog over, rinse and repeat. Again, after this is over, we're not going to BS too much about it. We are going to go directly into Kostya being white. People also referencing the fact that on Chess, chess.com, you can play this out against a computer. It is different against a computer. Not only is the computer sometimes tenacious in weird ways, but also it doesn't have the cunning of a human. And what I mean by that is strong players as black can really mess with you. They can mess with your mind. And that's why learning this endgame is important. As I said at the very beginning, trying to understand it from black's point of view. Because there's definitely skill involved from it with black's point of view. I have so many videos to do that I haven't got to. It's just stunning. I don't know why Kostya puts up with me. You know? He's just like, Kraai, buddy. When are you going to get to the work of the dojo? When's it going to happen, buddy? Okay, now a famous blunder here would be King C2, because then Rook C1 would force stalemate. And that's exactly the kind of thing that at least Kostya is setting up here. And I like David's thinking about this. Good move. I'm sure there were other ways to do it, as long as you didn't do King C2 there, buddy. That would have been a bad one. Maybe I'll just show because it's a very important trick. King C2, Rook C1 check. You got to take it, and it's stalemate. So here we go. We got. I'm going to allow. I don't know. Sometimes the chat doesn't allow it. Now, some people. This is kind of the references going on in chat. Deliberately play crazy chess so that they do not have to ever play the end game. And there are definitely certain kinds of players who get less endings than other players. I call them, there's either a kind of two, you could differentiate two different kinds of players. You could talk about players who are builders, who are looking to do small building advantages. And those people get endgames a lot. I guess I fall into that camp myself. And then there are the burners, the people who are ready to burn down all the bridges. And those people get endgames less. And the types of endgames they get are generally more violent and tactical than the people who play the builders. Now, You can't escape from the endgame. And one thing that you'll experience, as anybody who gets stronger will experience, is that when you are defending a bad position, you will often bail out into a bad ending. And that bad endgame could be lost, it could be just bad, and playing that position is going to be something you're going to need to learn how to do. And also, of course, your opponents will bail out into bad endgames. So what do I mean? At the lower ranks, people just collapse completely. But if you watch high-level play, what's going to happen? Well, people are not going to give up so easily, right? And then you're going to have to win that endgame. All right, so I think queen b5 is an example of us not creeping too close to the king. We play queen b5 and then king c2. If we play queen b4, this would be a nice trick. Queen b4, king a2, king c2, you got to worry about rook c1. Again, that's not even a stalemate trick, Kraai. That's not even a stalemate trick because the king's got here. So both queen b4 and queen b5 work. I would be more happy with queen b5. Just get the queen a little bit away from the king. That's what I mean by the jab and the hook. You don't want the queen right up in the king's face at this stage of the game. It's too easy to blunder. And good quote in the chat, people like Tal got many endgames. Absolutely true. And when you look at the Tal-Botvinnik 1960 match, there are several endgames in there. Several endgames that Tal had to not only win, but many he had to hold. Well, Kostya made it to like move 25. And David's just checking that king c2, rook c1 is not stalemate. That's all he needs to know. Toast. Toast, toast, toast. Did someone finally resign? Okay, there they go. All right, I'm going to set this up. And this time, Kostya is going to be white. $130, unrated. Okay, are you guys ready? They can't hear me. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm ready. If you want to take a break, quick break, pause. Otherwise, I'm ready to throw it back, run it back.
Yeah, we can play.
All right, David, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Hello, Kostya's got the white pieces. We're going to see if Mr. Pruess holds the line on the 5th rank or not. By the way, right after this, we're going to do our dojo talks, where we're going to talk about being an old dude and playing chess. That's the subject of today's talk. I'll just do a quick break after this, then we will go straight into that. Queen b8's a little weird, doesn't ruin anything though. Right, so white at this stage of the game really can't blow it. And it's black who needs to understand that he would like to hold either this line or this line, the 5th rank. And if he does so, he can force white to be clever. It is possible to break down, by all means, but he can be clever about it, and it can sometimes be difficult to crack. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the queen on b8 is going to have to come back. I'm imagining something like rook e4, and then white should play queen b6. Now, was this kosher? No, Daddy didn't like that, because now queen f4, and then aren't you losing the 5th rank? Yeah, you lost the 5th rank, buddy. And now it should be significantly easier for white to persecute this. So, as you can see, just simple knowledge about the situation for black, will be helpful. So again, the idea is to create, the hardest part is if black creates a line on the 5th rank, either here, or if the king's on this side of the board here, right here, and that will be more difficult. The 4th rank is a little bit easier to crack for white. And that's what we're going to get now. The fen of the starting position, sure, I can share that. I just totally picked the fen at random. The fen, by the way, is just fancy chess speak for a numeric value of the starting position. I just picked it so that black would have time to set up the 5th rank defense if he knew about the 5th rank defense. Which one is defined as the 5th rank and the 4th rank? So imagine you're black, okay, and you're out here. And back in the day, okay, you obviously starting at the top, right? Back in the day, we would say pawn, if it was, black was pushing his pawn, we'd say pawn to king 5. So that's his 5th rank, pawn to king 5. And then, of course, if you transpose it on its side, then in this case, if the king is over here, this would be the 5th rank, right? And I think Mr. Pruess was like trying to hold him off on, let's call it the 6th rank, and now it's not working. So now the easy one is queen e4. You could also play king c5 here. Fine. Yeah. Okay. So I was talking, I want to just do a little bit of a correction. We're talking about the 5th rank. In a sense, yes, black has the 5th rank. So I was talking a little bit incorrectly. He just gave it up again, no? With that he just gave it up again with that move. So the question then becomes, this is the skill. Is there a place for your rook to sit where it doesn't get nabbed, right? And so rook d8 would have been my question. Would that save your rook? Now we're getting pushed back. Yeah. I want to just wait because it was so here. So what happened here is it was funny because I was talking about the 5th rank and I was like, he lost it. White gave it back with the move king b5 and should have played queen e4 here to deny this rook d6 cut. Right? At least maybe he still can, maybe we can't actually stop him from getting it. Okay, so let's go back to the game. Right, here we definitely have broken through the 5th rank defense. Good question. What is so popular? What is so important about the 5th rank? The 4th rank, actually, let's use this as an example, is a little bit harder to hold. 5th rank, technically impossible to hold, but a little bit easier than the 4th rank. So if you imagine the 4th rank, we're just talking about ranks out from the side of the board. Why? Because if we transpose it, we'd be talking about ranks up from the board here. expecting king e4. I don't know about queen f8, but okay. Yeah. Kostya's pushing him back. We're move 12. He's doing fine. He's doing fine. Okay, so here it is. Mr. Pruess is going to try to hold the line on the 4th rank. So, all right, we'll count it out this way. And we're looking for a zugzwang opportunity here from white. Queen f6 looks plausible. There's more than one move here. Fine. Question, when did Gelfand hold this? I think someone said in the chat 2001. Google it. I would say it's a good companion video. Maybe we'll link it in the YouTube description when I do both this Sensei video and my spiritual guide. And I just want to say it's not by any means the only time that a top GM failed to win the thing. And you can see, like, Gelfand knows what he's doing as a defender. A lot of people don't know, like here, neither of these guys knew how to give white problems. And then it becomes easy. It becomes not so hard at all. And we got to say as well that most games where, you know, you've got the rook against the queen will feature a position where black's already shattered to begin with. Right, he doesn't achieve the 5th rank. And maybe if we go to an advanced sensei level, there's a bunch of theory, which I kind of sort of understand, where black has a pawn and a rook. And the general rule of thumb is the further up the board the pawn is, the easier it's going to be for the side with the queen to win. So in this case, if black had a pawn here and a rook here, and let's say the king is over here, then it's an easy draw. It gets, this I believe, if my memory is correct, on the 3rd rank, it's technically winning, but it's really hard. This one's now, if we have a pawn here and say a rook here, is easy. Why? Because the queen comes around from behind. In the case of the pawn here, the queen has a hard time coming around from behind. Now, one of the things that I like about doing these sensei videos is, let's say I do this spiritual guide thing, right? That I want this to be a companion piece to it so that you can see the tribulations of actual players dealing with it real time. Because you'll see, especially from the defender side here, it's really hard to put the rook on a square where it's not going to just fall off the board, right? In particular, right here. The rook, if it goes here, for example, we pin and win. Okay, king a5. And so why is this hard? Well, is there some way for white to grab the rook? I like king h4 at least as a fighting attempt. Yeah, that's good. And queen b3 seems really hard to me. I always do that. Queen b3, queen g6 looks like a good move. Queen g6 was played. Great. Me and Pruess think alike. Excuse me, me and Kostya. Oh, shoot. See? You guys didn't tell me. You were supposed to say, hey, Kraai. Kraai, don't you understand? You said that you had to change it, and then you didn't change it. Jerk. Jerk. Okay. It's hard to know what to do here for Mr. Black. conceivably, I guess we got to play what? King h3 is our best hope. But then the dog goes for a walk with queen h5. And just like we were talking about the 5th rank defense, we can talk about here, we can call this a 3rd rank defense. I like Mr. Pruess. Mr. Pruess, when we go to these endgame senseis, he's got good fighting spirit. And I like this a lot with the 3rd rank defense because it's forcing him to, and you can see it real time, that it's not immediately obvious how to break it black down. So I guess queen b4 looks logical here, right? Queen b4, and then we're going to zugzwang him back. I'll talk about some of the standard positions in the Sensei video. Okay, now I'm glad that Mr. Pruess did this, because this is a typical trick that honestly the computers have taught us. When you play against the computers, they will consistently put the rook hiding from the queen in ways like this. And this shouldn't work, but it's a pretty good trick. So I'm really happy to see that. And honestly, in the 5th rank defense, it's a key idea too. You hide. There's going to be key moves where you got to hide the rook behind the opponent's king, just like this. So I'm glad we got this idea out there. Obviously, there's a variety of things that white could do here. I like it, though. Rook c1. What's the move one number? We're on move 18. Thank you for saying. Maybe I could put that into the many boxes here, but real estate is limited. Real estate's limited. All right, Rook c1. I like that Kostya's thinking on this a little bit. Okay. Now, I wouldn't have been my first guess, just because we do have to have an answer to Rook c2. Maybe his answer is Rook c2, King g1. Maybe. That makes me nervous, though, because we're just getting so close to the king. I don't ever want to put him in a position where it even faintly looks like stalemate. Now, King f1 would also be a try. But this is not where the king wants to be. And we did not have to allow this. Is this still winning? Absolutely. But it's just a little bit DM hokey here, you know? A little DM hokey. All right, so Kostya's going to ask the natural question, is there a way for me to pick up that rook? Sorry about the kissing sounds. I don't know what inspired that. Okay. I guess because I wanted to kiss the rook. Is that so bad that I wanted to kiss the rook? It's not so bad. Come on, give me a break. Let me kiss the rook. Sometimes you got to kiss a rook. Hostpud says the rook is lost, bro. It probably is. It probably is. But it's not going to be lost after rook g4, at least. Yeah. Now, rook g4, king f2 isn't pretty simple win. So black is going to try to do something miraculous. King g3 is out, goes queen d3, and king h4 is obviously suspect due to a variety of checks that can appear on his. Queen h7 wins directly, right? Because king g4, queen g8, king g5, queen g8, and if king g3, we got queen d3. Game over. I think Kostya's going to find that one. There might be other ways to do it too. Yeah, post the game, Goko. Post the game. Oh, King F2. He still, of course, he's totally winning. Making me a little nervous. Now, how did I draw as when I was 1600 against the 1900? I know the exact pattern. I went here, and then I got too close, and he played check, and I was like, oh, I'm winning. And then bam, and then bam, and then I cried my little eyes out. I didn't actually cry, but there were tears in my soul. There were tears in my soul. And that is what we're trying to do. I don't think Kostya's going to fall for that one, man. If he falls for that one, his road to GM is far indeed, my friends. His road is far indeed if he falls for that one. So apparently there's some crazy thing about how can I want to give Goko fan a permission to post a link, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it, man. I'm not a genius with this. Wait, I was thinking about Goko fans' problems and not on my own. How did this happen? At least he didn't do King F3. Okay, here we go. King F3, Rook G5 will set up the same trick. Again, the queen wants to not be in there. It wants to be away, and the king wants to be the jabber. So if you imagine that position where the king walks to here, then you want the queen here on this square, away. The king is the jabber in the face, and the queen hangs back for the roundhouse. That's my silly metaphor, my mnemonic metaphor to help you when you are facing this trouble, to help myself when you're playing a real game. I want to stress, it's so hard to play endgames in real life when you've been struggling for hours and hours just to get there, and it's so easy to be, to move too fast, and your mind's a little hazy, a little foggy, and it's easy not to have the patience, and that's when nasty things happen to you. And Goko Fan, I thought Goko Fan posted this link, and we will post it in the description of the YouTube video. But there's also a video of it, which I think is far more exciting. As a fan, I was like, oh, that video is amazing. Kostya's having some grief finishing this one off. So, for example, King F3, Rook G5, and then some move like Queen E7. Just back it off. Back it off. Don't get so hot over there. Don't get so hot, Kostya. Take it easy, buddy. Take it easy. He's trying to snuggle up. He's trying to snuggle up to the black king. You don't want to snuggle. That's the problem, my friends. No snuggling. No snuggling permitted. That is how so many people have cried, including myself. As a young man, such a formative moment to try to have snuggled up to that black king, only to be pushed out of bed violently. Pushed out. How did Kostya miss the 2-rook combo? I don't know. Now, sometimes when you miss a combo, it's not the worst thing, in the sense that as long as you have an idea of how you're playing the position, how you're like, okay, this is how I'm going to win it. Did Kostya have that sense? I guess not. But he's still totally winning. We still have faith in the guy. He still broke down he got help from David, but the 5th rank defense was overcome. The 3rd rank defense was overcome. And now it should mostly be an elementary affair. Does King F3, Rook G3 work? Fantastic. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. That is the kind of garbage that we're looking for. Yes, indeed. And what is the problem? The queen is too close. Put the queen, if King H4, play Queen E6. Get it away. Get it away. But you got to be careful. This could turn into, a 5th rank defense if you let if you lost control. King h6. We're expecting king f3 now. But then on rook g5, we gotta play something. We gotta get the queen out, Kostya. Gotta get the queen out. I gotta say, these endgames were a little bit more exciting back in the day. They're still exciting, but what I mean is back in the day, we did have 30 seconds. It's a very new thing. It feels old hat now, but it's a very new thing to get this 30-second stuff. So on rook g5, Kostya, you're going to need to play a move like queen e8. Just move the queen out of there, buddy, so that your king can approach. Your king is the jabber, my friend. Your king is the jabber. Here we have an interesting question for Foo's chess. Let me just read this off because I think this is a common misconception. Quote, I realize there are two endgames I have no intention of learning, he says. King plus queen versus king and rook, i.e. the one we're doing now, and king and rook plus bishop versus, let's just say rook and bishop versus rook, right? The point that I really want to stress, okay, is that it's not just that you will get this endgame at some point and then blow it. It's that, by the way, queen e8 here is the kind of thing we want to do. That will allow the king to approach. It's not just the learning of the endgame. What it's about, what we're striving for, is a visualization of the squares. Same thing with the knight and bishop versus the king, mating the king. So, queen e7 would be the kind of thing I think you should do. Queen h8 probably works. Okay, now he's going a little faster, gaining some time. Now, king h6 arguably makes it a little easier for white. I was thinking king h4 might be a little bit more testing. But, yeah, king f4, and now it's going to be more difficult. I.e., this should be easy. Now, one of the nice things that happened, maybe by chance, is that Kostya's queen is now not directly in the king's face. So now, for example, if king h7, we should definitely play king f5. Again, the king being the jabber, the queen pulled back. And although it looks ridiculous, the position I'm going to cover in my vid is king here, rook here, white king here. And it looks like a study or something, but it actually can happen a lot when you're pushing the king back. And there it's all about zugzwang and finishing black off, where we want it actually to be black's move. And that one's just, I think, a good position to understand the dynamics of, and then there's so many that are like it. And it does happen. And it's a good example because the king on f6, what am I saying? It's the jabber, right? And the queen is the one hanging back, not allowing for stalemate tricks, and really with the flexibility to hurt black from behind. Yeah, this is where it becomes a bummer for black, of course, too, because, David doesn't want to play king h7. But what other cool thing does he got? Rook g2, rook g1 loses to queen h8, queen g8. Maybe you could try, I don't know, rook g7 or something. It's all The milk has gone bad. The milk has gone bad. Rook G7 might be our best practical attempt. Anyways, King H7, we're expecting now King F5. Maybe a dirty trick we could do is King F5, Rook G2, trying to hide. It probably loses the rook immediately, but still, it's a nice attempt. Rook G2, Queen E7 looks strong, for example. Queen C7 also looks strong. Yeah, again, the king wants to be right where he is. We're going to see we'll see if Kostya's test will be, does he put the queen does he snuggle? Does he try to snuggle again? That's going to be the key problem for Kostya if he snuggles. Kostya's got plenty of time. We're at move 30, by the way. 20 moves left. Plenty of time. Don't snuggle. Absolutely not. Now, that looks like it's got to lose pronto. That's losing pronto with Queen C7, right? Yeah, Queen C7, immediate win of the rook. King H6, Queen H2, King back, Queen G1. And of course, if he goes Queen C7, King to the back, we got Queen C8. Kostya will find this. He will find this. And have sympathy for black. It wasn't easy for him to come up with some other move. I guess Rook G8. Yeah, there we go, Queen H2. I think too, one of the questions I had about when I thought about doing this ending was, what would I was going to say the kill ratio be? And I wasn't, I didn't know. I didn't know how good they were going to be about finishing this ending off. And I think the key is if black doesn't have a sense of some of the tricks, then it's mostly easy for white, Mostly easy. And maybe you could argue it's easy anyway. If white knows what he's doing, you can make the argument. It's just that so many people have failed. So many people have failed. For example, king, rook, and knight versus rook. That's kind of known to be a draw, right? But so many people, including, of course, famously Kasparov against Bulgar, have blown it that people now play on. Okay, King F8, good move. At least we're making it fighting. Making a fighting game out of it. Queen B7. Yep. And we're at move 33 here. So David's not totally given up yet, my friends. No, sir. Again, Kostya wants to not snuggle with the queen. I'll just say what my intuition here. Queen C8, King G7, Queen D7, King back, and then King G5 looks to create a zugzwang situation. I'm assuming that does too. Fine. Yeah. But it does allow that. It's the only move that dude can do. Now, you can always go back King F5. We're at move 34, so it's getting a little hectic. Queen D7, right. Good. Is the queen in danger of getting a little too close? So we're expecting Rook E7 here. Yeah. Rook E5, King F6, even though we're snuggling a little too close, still is winning. e7, right? By the way, we saw this in the first game. If I was defending this position, this would be one of the key positions I would be aiming for, because there's a lot of stalemate tricks from here. White has to be a little careful, my friend. White has to be a little careful here. White is snuggling a little close. Okay, good. I think that's correct. Don't let him sit on f8. I think I said c1. I often do that. Okay, good. All right, fine. This is a bummer moment for black. Now, David's done well to survive a lot of these positions so far. It's very difficult. Now, for example, he's thinking to himself, rook a7. Could I actually survive there? Now, we've seen a couple positions where Kostya hasn't eliminated the rook. It's still winning, of course. He's still doing fine. But that would be, I mean, besides rook a7, what else do you want to do, honestly, right? I guess you could try rook e1. You're going to have to try a desperation move like that to try to get out of dodge. Question. Jesse, I thought king and rook, let's just say king and rook versus rook and knight was supposed to be an easier draw than king and rook versus rook and bishop. Well, excuse me, but yes, no, absolutely right. Absolutely right. No, it was supposed to be just a complete draw, and then people started winning the thing in practical play. As we saw in our rook and bishop video, or Endgame Sensei, rather, not so easy. Though the guys didn't know that one either. They needed some work on that one, man. They needed some work on that one. Okay, queen f6 is what we're expecting. And here is the rare case I think you're allowed to snuggle. I think there's some snuggle allowance here. Because queen f6, king g8, king g6, I don't see a stalemate. And the problem is that black rook is so nasty on e8. Yeah, so I think we're finally going to wrap this up here. Dude, I think that was a bad miss, dude. I think that was a bad miss. That was some snuggle time right there. I mean, it was just game over, too. That was game over, man. Uh-oh. Kostya, we're at move 38. We're at move 38, my friends. I don't know if Kostya's going to make it. I don't know if he's going to stink up the dojo here. King e5 looks good. If king f8, king f6. Let's see, it does seem, yes, that queen f6 was the move. King e5 looks very strong here. Looks totally winning. Queen b7 is going to allow king d6. I don't want it. Do I have a coaching rate? I am not doing more coaching at the moment. I have too many students. I sent them a cruel New Year's message where I said, buddies, I got to get rid of some of my students. I even raised their rate, but more importantly, I said, this is what you are going to have to do. Before every lesson, I want you to do X. That X was to go over your games in a little bit of detail. And I thought a bunch of students were going to say, I'm out, Kraai. I'm out. You're asking too much. You know that I can't do it with the studying your own game stuff. It's too hard, buddy. Let's just say, Kostya, queen e6, king f6 looks strong, buddy. But I think it was because it was a New Year's resolution kind of moment. I just said to myself, New Year's, new beginning for myself. I wasn't thinking about it from their perspective. And then everyone, when I, wrote my cruel email, they were just like, dude, I'm re-upping, man. Let's go. Kostya, buddy, we're at move 40. Are we stinking up the dojo? Uh-oh. All right, king d5 is still fine, Kostya. You haven't blown it, buddy. You haven't blown it, but on rook c8, we need you to play queen d6, boss, right? Am I missing something? Oh, my God, my friends. We're at move 41. Now it is, we're getting into the red zone. Well, 1800 strength, I think you're right. On rook c8, if he just follows the same pattern that he was doing before, that's exactly, he's going to play queen b5. I don't know, my friends. I don't know. Kostya's GM title. The chances in Vegas, there's odds over there. You can bet on Kostya making GM. They're sinking at the moment. I've never been an odds man, but if I was, I'd say to myself, Kostya's chances of making GM, not too good, my friends. Not too good. I think Pruess should just play Rook C8 just to see if Kostya's going to play Queen B5. I don't know what's wrong with Queen D6, King E8, King E6. I don't see it. Now, sometimes, you have to worry. If you get a little snuggly like that, you got to really worry, but I don't see any problem with it. Yeah, he might make FM. Kostya, I gotta say, is a good sport, man. He lets me talk so much smack about him. He's a good sport about it. Okay, Kostya, are you gonna play Queen D6, boss? You're at move 41. You're at move 41, bro. Oh, baby. Oh. Oh. I don't know, my friends. We're at move 42. Yeah, no. Well, I think, who has it said? Someone predicted Queen B5 was going to happen. They saw it clearly that he was going to do this. David pretends that he's like a friendly dude and he's a communist and all this stuff, dude. No, he wants to hurt you, man. David definitely wants to hurt people. So you can see it in his face. He wants to not lose this thing. He wants to hold it. Yeah. He doesn't want to let Kostya get the GM title. He wants him to get the FM title. All right. Now, I guess we're going to play Queen A5 again because that's what dude's been doing all day long. And it's cunning to play Rook B8 because, of course, at this point, Pruess sees Queen C6. He sees it, but he's like, well, Kostya's been doing the Queen A5 game for a while here. Like, honestly, like, what is Kostya's thinking? Some dark thought about, like, if we get the pattern onto the corner, I guess, and then mate for Mr. Tate. I mean, does Queen A5 win? Sure, it does. Queen C6, now it's happening. All right, so even the snuggle pattern is going to work here after King D6. And I don't see any hope here, my friends. I see nothing. Might as well. Look, David made it to move 45, dude. He made it to move 45. Ooh.
Oof. That was tough.
That was so stressful.
Kostya, the meanest comment ever came in, and then here it was, man. They were like, man, Kostya's going for the FM title.
That's very funny. I guess I missed this one earlier. Somehow it escaped me completely.
Okay.
So I could have done our move 40 instead of...
Yeah, we had a couple chances. You had a clear pickup of the Rook too. But in any case, one of the things I'll just want to stress to wrap this up is I'm going to do a video to talk a little bit of how to do this, for both sides. And the key thing that I want you guys to just see, and I'll talk about in the video, is the 5th rank defense. You guys weren't aware. 5th rank defense.
5th rank.
Yeah. And now I think there was various ranks happening.
3rd rank.
There's 3rd rank defense too. The 3rd rank's a little easier. Anyways, we'll talk a little bit about it in the vid. I don't know if you noticed, Kostya, it was move 47, buddy. 47.
Yeah, I actually thought
you won the Rook at move 46, so 46.
Yeah, no, I thought I blew it. Actually, I somehow just wasn't seeing this idea. But you said I missed the Rook earlier.
Twice.
Yeah,
really?
I saw a couple Rook misses.
Like when
the first time I separated the King and Rook. So I can see what move that
Rook
is.
C1?
First time I separated the rooks, the Rook and King. So it's at move 22. You could play queen 2. I was thinking a2 because I had the board. Like I didn't know which direction the board was, but it's queen h7.
Right.
And then,
Yeah,
I should
king
have
g3.
then queen well, sorry, not e6, queen d3.
Oh, queen d3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally missed that.
Yeah, I saw it as soon as I played, and I was like, "Oh my god, I should have brought the rook back to b5." I got I got cocky about taking it away from my king.
Right.
Too much stress. And then another one was really cool. It was like queen g7 check, and if my king comes up to queen b2 check, and if my king goes to h6, you've got queen h8 mate. That one was sick.
Wait, queen b2 check?
Yeah. Okay. Move 32. Look at move 32. That one's so dirty.
Yeah, that's one I haven't seen before. Queen b2.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Nice. Wow.
Yep.
Dang.
We saw it. We talked about it.
You saw queen b2, Jesse?
Yeah, we talked about the queen h2 and stuff. But the other one was, well, anyways, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I would recommend, for everyone in the chat to go practice it themselves. They think it's so easy.
Oh my God, that was stressful.
Okay, guys, let's wrap it up. We're coming back for Dojo Talks.
Wait, you're not gonna teach us anything?
No, I'm gonna do the video later. You guys stunk up the dojo, man. No, just kidding. You, David.
We just suffer and that's it. There's not like tell us what the 5th rank defense is or something. No,
I'll do it in the vid. It'll be a good clarification. I'll use you guys' game there too. Now I cheated.
I learned
times.
something.
I cheated because I did the rook and bishop. I said the same thing with rook and bishop versus rook, but I haven't done the vid yet either. So I'm way behind. I get it.
Right.
I get it, Dojo. I get it. All right, yeah, but let's wrap it up, and then we'll come. Yeah, we'll come back in just a second.